hard for love to ever last. Bang. I fall in love too easily. I fall in love too fast. I fall in love too terribly hard for love to ever last. Bang. I fall in love too fast.
So guys, this base design is a little bit more complicated than my previous ones, but it still should be understandable with this base tutorial. So it's just going to be a pretty simple, you're going to put two triangles back to back and then surround them how I did. And we're actually going to build the TC bunker first. This is unfortunately not easily made from starter to main base, so it is probably advisable to have a starter base before building this. Obviously, if you have like 4 or 5 people, which I wouldn't recommend for this base, but if you do, you might be able to start straight at this stage, but you just have to skip on the armory, of course, and maybe keep the TC unbunkered. But a quick note for this base, again guys, it is really advised that you have less than 3 people, 3 or less people in this base. It's pretty cramped. It's pretty much how I could get the cheapest base to make and the most expensive to raid, while still providing plenty of storage and every single utility that you will need. So guys, I need you to follow these steps pretty close to exactly how I do them. Although I do apologize if throughout the video you see me like delete a wall or foundation or floor. My memory is terrible on this kind of stuff, so I do have a reference base next to me, as you can see, and I do jump back and forth and create from that. I made that one and it took me like an hour and a half just to remember my original design. So again guys, I'm sorry if you guys get a little bit confused by me deleting something. I would recommend watching the video all the way through before trying to build this base, so you don't follow me step for step on that. So right now guys, we're just kind of finishing up the core, and now I am layering around it. The core is quite small for the base. It's pretty much just like the 1x1 with the TC bunker, but you can fit 2 or 3 bags in there depending on how you put your boxes down. And I mean, you could put a level 3 in there, but I put a level 2 in there because a lot of times whenever I'm building a main base, I won't have a level 3 workbench yet. Sometimes I'll just have my level 2, so I put that down there. I put the level 3 upstairs. So that what we just built right there is actually going to be a loot room and a bedroom. I know it's pretty small, and there's probably a little bit more of an efficient way to do this, but if you guys know how to do that, just feel free to leave it in the comments below, or just do it for yourself and don't tell anyone else how to do it, because that's how I would do it. You don't want to tell everyone everything you're doing with your base. So right now I'm just kind of laying out the final honeycomb almost. It's not quite the final because you can honeycomb this as much as you want, but this is pretty much just the baseline, what you would do if you're trying to build this as cheap as possible. And so I'm going to upgrade these ones over here to sheet metal because they are protecting our TC. So I think the cheapest way possible to raid that base without upgrading those sheet metal would be to blow the stone foundation and then the armored one. I think you'd be in 20 rockets. But upgrading that sheet metal increases the cost by just a little bit, and later I'm actually going to put a couple more foundations there to increase the cost just a little bit more. I think it'll be 24 to 28 rockets to raid at its cheapest if you roof stack it at the top. I didn't do that in the video, but if you do want to roof stack the base, again, all you guys have to do is either put a shooting floor on it or place half walls, sheet metal preferred, on the roof and close that in. It just adds another 8 rockets if you were to raid from the top. But so again, guys, we're setting up the loot room here and honeycombing the top. This is not actually going to be your main loot room technically, because there's loot rooms pretty much scattered everywhere, but it will be where a good majority of your boxes, your research table, and your level 3 and your repair bench are going to be. So this is kind of like your main hub area, and this is where if I was doing a roof stack, I would put it on top of that central oval kind of area. So again, guys, upgrade everything you can to sheet metal. It honestly is preferred if you can upgrade the entire base to sheet metal. Obviously, that's a lot of metal, so it's completely understandable if you can't. But if you do have a little bit of extra, if you're playing a modded server or something, it's always a good idea to upgrade everything you can to sheet metal. It's just double the rockets from stone. And right there, guys, that's why you don't want to follow me exactly. Wait until you see what I do. So, as you guys can notice, we actually do have a second floor entrance. It's kind of to, in a sense, kind of carry the raider around like a maze, in a sense. Coming in from the second floor just makes it a little bit more confusing to deal with, because, you know, everybody is thrown off just a little bit by that. You see it a little bit more and more nowadays with the roof entrances. But I just thought, you know what, this base is kind of aimed to confuse and frustrate the raiders, so why not just add a little bit extra. As you guys saw in the little fly-through of the base, the loot rooms are trapped, and even though the unlootable loot rooms are a little bit harder to pull off now, because there is a chance that the bag does have some weird physics and fall out, it still slows down the raider, and if they don't know how to get around the unlootable part, it still serves as a pretty good distraction, if anything, and slows them down considerably. So now we're just filling in the honeycomb for the top, and this is where I added a couple extra foundations to make it a little bit more expensive to raid from this side. If I were to honeycomb this base even more, I would definitely start with over here. Because, guys, again, the base is very one-sided. The TC is on the far side of the door, so that's why everything over there is either armored or sheet metal. So that's how you're going to do the entrance. You just put a foundation with a roof facing the door, and then you can actually place walls beside the roof, and then some foundation steps. So that's pretty much the basic footprint of the base. Now this is how you're going to do the deployables. Again, guys, do the deployables however you want, but this is just my preferred method. I like to trap a lot of my loot rooms. I like to throw 2 beds down here, even 3 if you have a third person. I'll show you kind of where I'd put that in a minute. But up here, it's going to be like a ring around. So I would not put your most valuable loot up here. This is kind of just going to be where your crafting stuff is. Maybe a little bit of gunpowder and med syringe supplies to craft stuff on the go if you need to get out of the base quickly. You can put a box under the research table. That's fairly useful. Furnaces, just place them pretty much anywhere you can. It doesn't have to look pretty, guys. Just make sure you can move around the base decently quickly up there, because downstairs is a little bit harder to move around. Right in the first drop down, I like to do a trapped loot room. Even though, again, as I said, they're not unlootable, they are frustrating to deal with, and this is pretty much a death trap to any raider. They fall down, and there's shotgun turrets facing at them from 2 directions, so that's a pretty much guaranteed kill if they do drop down. Another one on the bottom floor, where we're going to do a sheet metal wall next to the TC. More than likely they would blow the armored wall and get both, but if they do choose to go through doors, it is probably going to kill them if they try to loot that. So actually, you can't put sleeping bags under a drop box, so I had to delete it and then put it back down. Afterwards, it was kind of weird. So make sure you put a campfire before your low walls. This is to access the boxes without having to break the low wall. And whenever a raider does come and they try to like stand on the campfire, they will get hit by the shotgun trap. So it's just good to have that little campfire there. It makes it easier to loot, and it also makes it harder for the enemies to loot. So guys, these boxes are just my optimal placement. If you don't need that storage, then don't put those boxes there. You can put beds, you can put an auto turret, you can pretty much do anything in that space. But I just like to put a couple extra boxes. If you don't have a disease, you can jump up that pretty easily. I'm just terrible at the game. Try not to put wall frames to the ceiling. So I'm just going to go through and add in all of our garage doors and stuff. Actually, as you can see, the item was prohibited on the server, the flame turret, so normally I put a flame turret there. So now we're going to add on the doors. You saw that extra bed go down. It's just if you have a third person. Garage doors on everywhere. Again, these can be replaced with sheet metal doors, double doors if you want them to. The garage doors are a little bit more expensive, so I understand if you can't. And that's pretty much it, guys. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll be releasing a online raiding tips video in the next one. Peace.